Hi, it's Kim here from The Art of Health. Recently I did a video blog on the quick fix, demystifying the quick fix of getting well from a chronic illness overnight or in a week or even in a month. And in that video blog I talked about how, because of our conditioning in our Western world of getting a pill and having quite a quick result from that pill, which unfortunately usually only treats the end result, we've been programmed and conditioned to think that we can get well really quickly. So if you haven't watched that blog yet, then I recommend going and watching that as well, because it connects with what I'm about to speak to in this one. And after I did that blog, I thought, there's something else that I want to add. And the other thing that we need to take into account when we're trying to understand why does it take so long to get well, especially from a chronic illness, is that one of the things that people don't realize is how long it's taken to actually get to that point of being that ill. And what we tend to notice is we become aware of the symptoms. We become aware of when we're experiencing discomfort. So that could be any physical symptom you'd like to name, or it could be more of something going on at a mental, emotional level. In other words, we're either very unhappy or we're depressed. So I call those more sort of mind, emotional symptoms. Or physical symptoms, where we know when we have physical symptoms, we have a pain or a discomfort somewhere and our body brings our attention to that. Now, the interesting thing is people tend to notice things at that level, but not have realized what has gone on in the background to build that up, to get to that point. And usually what has gone on before that has literally taken months, if not years, to build up. But we didn't realize it at the time. So I'll give you an example. And this is a classic example for people with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, irritable bowel, insomnia, any chronic illness. And a chronic illness means that symptoms have been going on for 6 months or more. So usually people start to notice that they're starting to get a bit tired, but they're not really fully noticing it, and they just carry on. They just carry on trying to get by. And that was certainly the case for me. I noticed before I was officially diagnosed with chronic fatigue, I noticed that I started to get tireder and tireder, and I kept on thinking, well, if I have a good night's sleep, or if I have a rest this weekend, or if I do this or if I do that, then I'll feel better tomorrow. But that tomorrow never came, and the tiredness just continued. But that was a period of about 9 months when I was slowly getting more and more tired, until eventually I crashed. But even before that, there was still stuff going on that I had not fully acknowledged and recognized. And it's what goes on before that time, before we even start to notice the symptoms, that is what we need to look at in order to find the solution. And in every case, with every client that I've worked with, bar none, I have found that the patterning and the setup, if you like, for getting symptoms later in life actually happens usually by the age of 7. All the patterning and the programming and the propensity, if that's the right word, for getting ill later in life is usually set up by the age of 7. And that may be quite a new piece of information for you. So as we're growing up, we learn to behave in certain ways in order to get our needs met. And these are very important needs. We call them emotional needs. And we also learn to stop, this is all unconscious, we learn to stop feeling our emotions and feeling that it's okay to feel our emotions, and we stop being our authentic self. And when we stop being our authentic self, that has huge consequences sooner or later down the track, because our feelings and our beliefs lead to our behaviours, which lead to results. And so when we go looking at the cause of illness, or why we're suddenly noticing that we're getting symptoms now, it's not about looking at what's happened in the past month or the past 2 months. It's about looking at what has happened in my whole life. And when we look at our whole life, we're going to see all the different pieces of the jigsaw puzzle that come together as to why we now end up with symptoms. And one of the major important topics to be looking at is stress. Harvard University say that at least 80% of illness, chronic illness, is due to stress, and that's certainly been my observation. And so stress plays a huge role. So often people have been very stressed for many, many years, and that will have been the result of many different factors such as bereavements, relationship breakups, abuse, bullying, moving country. All sorts of different factors play into how and why we create emotions and how we get stressed. So these are all the pieces of the puzzle that we need to look at, or you need to look at, if you're looking for a solution to get well from a chronic illness. So this is why the instant fix is a myth. It takes longer than just a week to sort out a chronic problem. So I recommend that if you are trying to get over a chronic illness, start to investigate and look at your life in a much wider scope, and look at everything that has happened to you that has led to the build-up now, maybe months or years, usually years later, of symptoms. And that is when you will start to find the answers. So I hope this has been useful, and I look forward to speaking again soon.